What's up, friends? Welcome back to Rooted Wisconsin, where we are dedicated to authentically sharing the stories of the people who drive Wisconsin culture and make this a great place to be. Back with another episode, but we've got to start by thanking you. Thank you for your likes, shares, subscribes. Thank you for being here with us. We make the content hoping that everybody enjoys, so we appreciate you being here. Share with your friends. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet, and check us out on all the social media platforms. Big shout out to Riverside Pizzeria, sponsor of Rooted Wisconsin. Best pizza in Wisconsin. Make sure you get cheese out. And big news for Riverside, they are open for lunch now over the summer, which is cool stuff. So stop in there and get a pizza, and try pepperoncinis too. They got this pepperoncini paste that's delicious. So if you get that and cheese out, you're going to get the full Riverside experience. So stop in by then. Shout out to Wonder Sign for our cool new marketing materials we got. If you see me around, catch a hat or see the Rooted Wisconsin mobile, going to have some window decals pretty quickly. So Rooted Wisconsin in Green Bay helping out, or Rooted Wisconsin, Wonder Sign in Green Bay helping out with that. And then shout out to the folks at Discover Green Bay for some cool studio space that we've got. So thank you for being out there. Let's jump into our episode today, and we've got Taylor Jacobson from Quick Media. Thanks for coming in, Taylor.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, and I've been excited to come, so thank you.
Yeah, man. I've been excited to chat with you for a while, too. It seems like our lives have a lot of overlaps, which I'm excited to talk about, and I've just seen a lot of your content on LinkedIn, and I appreciate what you do, and I'm excited to learn more, man. So,
let's do it.
Yeah. First things first, I've checked out some of, you play music too.
I do.
And
yeah.
I dig some of the jams, man. So I'm a huge Americana fan. And
Okay.
It seems like we've got a lot of similar music tastes. Like I've seen you play a couple Childers songs. I got to see Childers way back in the day at the Blue Ox Music Festival with like 20 people there.
Where is that one again?
Eau Claire.
Oh, really?
Way back in the day, man. This was right when Childers was getting big. It was still when he was heavy and drinking and stuff. And
oh wow,
arms on the stage, watching Childers at the Blue Ox Music Festival with like 50 other people. Man, it was the best.
Those are the best because you just like we go to a lot of like smaller shows like that because you just never know who's gonna blow up.
Yep.
And I mean, regardless of whether you find him now or what was that? How long ago was that? 9
years.
Yeah. So, like his music was just as good then. Like, and when you look at where when he started, he looked so young. Mm-hmm. If you look some of his first studio videos, you're like, he looks like he's 10.
Yeah.
And the songs that he writes and plays, he's one of those that's just on like another level. You know, you got the mainstream artists, musicians, you know, you get so much of that. And then there's guys like him where it's a whole nother level of music.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simple too. Like as a musician, like when you're learning how to play a lot of his stuff, you're like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
But he makes it sound so good. So that's awesome. Yeah.
GDC with some hammer-ons, man, and you can play Chillers.
GDC. That's so funny. Yeah. No, literally we just did a gig recently and I was teaching a kid how to play and DCG or whatever it was. He's like, that's the whole song. I'm like, yeah, man, that's all it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been trying to get more into that, into that realm of music. I like it a lot better. We've evolved a lot with what I've played, but like the Childers style music, I love that stuff. And a lot more people are catching on to it, which is cool.
It's awesome to see it blowing up, man.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been playing out live?
I started playing guitar probably in like 5th or 6th grade, a lot more seriously. I've been very fortunate. I have multiple uncles that have played in bands. You've heard of the Glam Band?
Yeah.
My uncle plays guitar in the Glam Band.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
He gave me a really good start along with another uncle that plays down in the Chicago area. So I started playing around then, and then about 10 years ago, my uncle that's currently in the Glam Band was in a different band and said, we need someone to open. Like, do you want to just give singing and playing a try? It went really well, and I kind of haven't looked back since.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. get to go to a lot of cool places and meet a lot of different people, which is really cool.
Yeah. And it seems like it's pretty, you do solo shows, right? Like solo acoustic shows. Is that pretty much your main?
Yeah. I started out for a few years doing that. Put a band together that actually is still playing with a new front man for about 3 years, and then came back to playing acoustically. It's just where I'm most comfortable. I like being able to be versatile in a gig, with a band. You have to stick to a set list to a certain degree because with 4 or 5 guys, it's hard to be on the spot. Whereas when I'm alone, if people want to come up and make requests and I can just kind of figure out how to play what they want me to play, I love doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so much opportunity with it. I mean, everybody with a patio in the summertime wants music.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Like I said, a lot of cool places. Stadium View right down the road might be my favorite right now.
Nice.
They got a great stage and they really take care of the people they bring in.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've checked out some of that stuff, so I was pumped up to chat about it a little bit. Kind of an area of interest and passion for mine too. But Quick Media, where does that start? How long have you?
We started that a few years ago at the trucking company. We were finding that there was only a certain amount of my time that we really needed for the marketing and advertising and everything for the trucking company. So we were like, well, what if we find a way to split that time and do work for other people to kind of make up to kind of balance my position there. So it really wasn't costing them anything after we got this going to have me there as their marketing person because we were making it up with client work. So we started reaching out to current customers and had a few that were interested. Started going outside of that a little bit and found that, like I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of people that need this type of work, but as a small to medium-sized business, just don't have the money to bring in a full-fledged production team. So we kind of, I'm an all-in-one jack of all trades when it comes to shooting video and then getting in front of the right people for these customers. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that for about 3 years now. It's been steady. We have some retainers, and it's been fun. I get to do a lot of different things on a weekly basis, which for me is good because concentration is something that I've struggled with for a while. So to be able to do a lot of different things is exactly what I need for what I want to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's marketing in general. You get to be creative constantly, and if you get bored with one thing, like marketers try another thing, and let's see how this works.
You have to. It's so cutthroat and so ever evolving that you got to keep your pulse on it. And it's funny, I've worked in a few agencies starting out, and I can always spot someone else that's also worked in an agency because we have a lot of similarities. Short-term memory, concentration, moving on from task to task, knowing the struggles of working in the agency world. I've just noticed that there's a lot of common traits amongst people that come from that world, which is cool.
Yeah. So how did, what initially brought you into marketing? What were your interests that made you think, or in content specifically? Because it seems like that's like, you're a marketer, but content production is kind of the center of view, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I found marketing because I was probably 20, 21, no idea what I wanted to do. I was home for summer break. My mom was getting her hair cut in downtown Oshkosh. I had time to kill because I was with her. I walked into a bookstore and I saw a book called The New Rules of Marketing and PR by David Meerman Scott. And for whatever reason, I was just like, that looks interesting. I read it and I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
No way, dude. Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I bought every edition of that book. He comes out with a new edition every few years, and I bought every single one. And I've told him through LinkedIn that, like, dude, I'm doing this because on a random chance, the cover of your book jumped off the page for whatever reason. That's a true story.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that's probably another reason why it's really a passion for me, is just kind of the way it got going was all by chance.
Yeah.
Like we talked earlier, I then kind of took that back to Point, jumped into the marketing program, wasn't getting out of it maybe what I was wanting to get out of it. So I left Point, took some time off, by chance found the marketing program at Fox Valley Tech, and immediately just kind of took to the instructors, everything that they were teaching, got through that. And then at that time, to your point of the content, it was getting a lot more content. Marketing was all you were hearing about when I got my first job. And the video thing has always been interesting to me. So through a combination of kind of branding, advertising, and then the multimedia, I've been able to turn that into kind of an all-in-one service, which again is really cool because I get to do different things within the same task, I guess. It's fun. It's cool. Like I said, it's always changing. It's always ever evolving. And I just have fun doing it. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of what it's all about.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, in that atmosphere with each new client, you get to build something else completely from scratch usually.
Yep.
Like
100%.
Take a vision. Cause oftentimes you get those initial client meetings and they have like an idea in their mind of what they want, but either don't have the tools or the knowledge, or somehow they can't make it come to life without you. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Super fun, man. That's awesome. And, so it's like 3 or 4 years in with Quick Media, right?
We've been doing Quick Media for probably about 3 years now.
Nice.
And I was doing kind of like small odd jobs up until that, but now have developed more of a system for the clients that we work with, and it all centers around getting them the results they need. And if you talk to a business owner, that's one of two things: it's either sales or hiring talent.
Yeah. Right
now, it's one of those two things. Very, very rarely does someone say, "I want to grow my Facebook page as a business owner." I've never heard that. So by focusing on getting those real business results with the creative, everyone's happy at the end of the day, and then they only want to do more of it, which allows me to be creative and develop new ideas. So it's been fun. Yeah.
So it seems like you take that over into some of your like interests and hobbies too, right? So
yes.
That's what draws me into your LinkedIn content, and that's kind of why we talk about how do you get eyes to pay attention, right? That's why I started paying attention, because your stuff on LinkedIn, it's a little bit outside of the box thinking, and I love that. It's a unique place to log in and see like someone holding a big fish or like being out in the woods or something.
Yeah.
And I think there's a ton of value of that in marketing. Like when done right, like you are inserting yourself into a space that's kind of like untapped in a way. And you do a really good job of it.
Thank you.
Keeping it like, linear too, like it all connects, like it makes sense to be there, right?
That's great to hear. When you do it, you have in your mind like, does this fit in with it? Yeah. But I just kind of noticed that no one was really sharing any for such a long time. LinkedIn was very not specific, stuffy, and no one was doing anything outside like the business world. Like you didn't really see anything about like the outdoors. Now you see a ton of it because people are like, what an untapped resource.
Yeah.
But I was like, I live in Wisconsin. A lot of the people I'm connected with live here. They're used to seeing all that outdoorsy stuff in every other social media platform. I'm just going to start putting it on here. And it's literally gotten me clients just because they go, I see you also fish. I need help with this. I mean, it's crazy how that works. It's just being authentic, man. Like, regardless of what it is that you enjoy doing, like in your free time, whatever your hobbies are, there's people out there that are going to connect with it. And it's just about finding them and then putting it in front of them on a regular basis. And it just, over time, it stacks up. So that's awesome to hear that, somebody noticed. So that's really cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's great. And like, you're completely right. And I think there's been some progress in that area too. It just like in career fields in general, where like it's more, I think, okay is not the right word to use, but it's more like well received to just like meld the two worlds together of like the whole human and then the work human.
Right.
Than it ever has been. And that's a good thing, right? Because we don't have to go to work and be like this robotic, like you know, ABCD person every single day that then like goes home and is who they actually are.
Right.
Like it's okay to be you at work. And I think that's coming through in that type of content. It makes me happy because like, I don't know. I'm sure throughout history, there've been a lot of like mental tug of wars of someone like playing this game of like, this is who I am at work. And then this is who I can be at home type thing.
Yeah. Well, and you know, unfortunately, that's just the culture that a lot of companies build. I can't live like that, man. That's just not me. Like I need to, I just need to be comfortable in my skin every single day. And I feel very fortunate that like I've learned that and I've come to that realization because I feel like a lot of people never get there, whether they have the opportunity or not. You know, I have sympathy for older generations that never were able to do what we're kind of like doing like this, like here right now, like this is a passion for you. So we're doing a podcast. Like if any type of idea that people decades ago had, that just wasn't something that it lived up here.
Yep.
And it never came to life. And, I just, I'm trying to do everything against that mindset and it looks like you are too. So and by doing this, more people are going to see it and go, well, you know, I've always wanted to do a podcast. That guy can do one. And then it just inspires people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I try to live with that mindset and, I just take things day by day. Yeah. Like I said, concentration's not my strong suit.
Yeah. All of us at times, man. All of us at times.
Yeah. So where did I have to ask you, you were in audio for a long time. Yep. What got you into the audio world?
That's a great question, dude. So, similarly to the happenstance, like theory of like you happened to pick up that book that day, right?
Yeah.
So, I was getting a marketing degree at Milwaukee Area Technical College, and I worked at a grocery store with a dude named Travis Wacker. Shout out Travis Wacker. He's a really cool guy. And he had just gotten an internship at the time it was, I think it's still just called ESPN Milwaukee. It's a Good Karma brand owned thing. And he had gotten an internship there, and I was like, I had no idea what I wanted to do, dude. Like I had went to college initially to be an engineer, and I was in the back of that room you were talking about earlier with 200 students in there not learning anything, and I was like, this isn't me. So no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I really enjoyed talking with people, and I knew that there was some connection with that in marketing. So I was like, all right, I'll give marketing a shot. Go there, and there I needed a couple internships to graduate. So I had it in my mind that I was going to need an internship eventually. And he had gotten one with ESPN, and he was like, it's not paid, but it seems like it's going to be pretty cool. So I just kind of networked and are they still looking? What do they need? And if I remember right, I think I had to wait a semester. I might be wrong on that, but whatever. Either way, I ended up applying, interviewed, and got an internship there in sports radio. I was a huge sports fan. And just from there, I was like, the vibe was cool. Like it drew me in. It was like, these people are all neat. They seem like they're having fun. Nobody's making millions of dollars, but that's not really what I'm thinking of right now. Like I want something that I'm going to enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I worked there for a year. I got another radio internship that I worked for free for another year. And then I got my first paid gig in radio.
That's marketing.
Yeah.
You got to work for free a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then from there, I got my first paid gig and just kind of set some career goals that I was able to achieve quicker than I thought I would. And then some other forces pushed me in a different way. But I worked with audio for a long time and pretty much like self-taught, like awesome. Figured out how to work Audition and like put together tapes and talk on the radio, I guess.
That's the best way to learn. Yeah. Just grinding it out and doing it.
Yeah.
Just get some equipment, start screwing around with it. And eventually if you set your mind to it, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Very cool.
Yeah. It was a fun journey. I enjoyed the entire career. It was like as I aged, my I wouldn't say my passions, but like my interests in different things changed. And especially as a marketer, and it's something I share with students a lot now too, because like it got really important to the point where like I had to align what I could do as a marketer with something that I truly believed in, because like I came to learn, like now I call marketing a superpower, and especially being able to like vocalize things and being able to like tell a story.
Yeah.
Like that's a superpower that can influence people to make decisions. And like young in my career, I didn't hold any weight with that. I was like, dang, that's sweet. I can get like, 2,000 likes on this Facebook post, or I can, get somebody to go buy 100 fish fries at this place this night or something. And I'm going to make money for it. Like, that's cool. And then it got to a point where I started feeling a bit of like weight or burden with that. Like, if I'm going to do this, I wanted to do it something that I truly believe in. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it now. Okay.
So that was a really important like turning point in my career. And that's kind of when I got out of radio and started doing some other stuff where now like my life is pretty much focused on like boosting people. So that's where my passion lies, and it's worked out well, man.
Well, you're doing a good job of it here, because this is really cool. And as somebody coming in and sitting down, like it like I know I'm going to be pumped the rest of the day when I walk out of here, because I like do anything podcast. I don't watch any TV anymore. It's all I literally listen and watch podcasts all day long.
Yeah.
Specifically like the comedy ones.
Yep.
I'm a huge stand-up comic fan, even though I wasn't at Shane Gillis, which I'm still bummed about, because I kind of heard some mixed reviews, but overall, I love that guy. His show is great. I think he's way funnier on like Joe Rogan and stuff than I think he is on
his
on
candid
stage.
stuff is great. Yeah.
Well, and that's how so many of them are. I've found is stand-up's funny, but when you put a mic in front of these guys and you just put them in a room, I laugh so hard. People probably think I'm psychotic driving around, because when I have my earbuds in, I'm just laughing alone in my vehicle, and I can only think what someone next to me is thinking as they look over. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's just I love it all. So
what are some of your go-tos? What do you listen? What podcasts are some of your go-tos?
Regardless of how many people see this, I got to give Bad Friends a shout out. It's with Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino. Yep, he's nodding. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I found that one through another one called Tiger Belly. That's Bobby Lee's podcast.
Yeah.
It goes back to like 2015. I found it probably in like 2017. It was the first one I ever started listening to, and I just happened to see a clip on YouTube, and I'm like, that's one of the most offensive things I've ever heard. Now I have to go and learn more. Yeah. So ever since then, riffing with Griffin, I've always listened to Rogan. Chris DiStefano, Your Mom's House with Tom Segura. I mean, literally all of those. I just stack them up throughout my day, and it's just go through whenever I have dead time or I'm doing something where I can listen to something. Yeah. It's just podcast after podcast.
Dude, I'm envious of people that can do like certain types of work and listen to podcasts at the same time, because I can't. Like, I can only like focus on one thing, and I can't. If I turn on the podcast, like, I find myself an hour later, here I am watching a podcast. Like, I can't do two things at once, but I wish I could, because there's so many more that I want to watch and listen to. But right now I pretty much listen to podcasts when I work out. That's like my time. But I agree, like late night after my son goes to bed and we're looking for TV, like I canceled Netflix. I don't even have Netflix anymore. It's like YouTube. I'm going to watch a podcast probably or something like that. Theo Vaughn's is hilarious.
I can't believe I didn't say Theo Vaughn. Absolutely. That guy is the man. He came to Skyline Comedy Club in Appleton years ago. Okay. And I kind of just heard about him, and I regret every day since then not going to that show, because now he's so far beyond that. Yeah. That's another place, we were talking about shows before, and like seeing people when they start out. Skyline Comedy Club is a great place to see guys that a few years later really blow up. There's something to in-person comedy that, dude, I just love it.
Yeah, it's such an art form, man. It's always something that I've thought about like pursuing in a way, because there's something so like something that draws me into it. It's like, that's an intimidating thing, and I like leaning into things that make me uncomfortable.
That's awesome.
And like I've virtually made a career of talking in one way or another. But like that in particular really intimidates me. But at the same time, that makes me want to do it, which is weird. And
I kind of know, I know exactly how you feel. I say to my wife all the time, because I'm always like testing like little jokes and bits on her around the house.
Yeah.
And every now and then I'll get one and it'll hit and she'll go, okay, that was funny.
Yeah.
And I go, maybe I should do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I go, no, stick to the music. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. There's something about it though, man. You're exactly right. Like great stand-up is awesome. But the podcast world in general is great right now. This past weekend, I'll catch that a lot. Actually, the intro of Rooted Wisconsin, I pretty much straight copped from The Honeydew. Have you ever listened to The Honeydew with Ryan Sickler?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Love The Honeydew. And like when he starts off every show by thanking his followers and listeners and watchers. And I was like, that is awesome. So that's why I do it. Like,
Perfect.
He's and I love that one because it's so, like it's funny, like he's always a funny guy, but it's so heavy at times.
Mm-hmm.
And like telling the stories, what he calls it, like the stories behind the storytellers or whatever. And that like, it seems like every episode is just this train wreck of a life that led someone to be a comedian. That's unbelievable, man.
Well, it's funny. They talk about that on Tiger Belly a lot, like how many like comics have a very similar background and how they found their way to that passion. Mm-hmm. There's usually a heavy story behind it. You have the ones that like, from what Chris D'Elia, who's a stand-up, he's an anomaly because he always talks about, he had great parents. They
Mm-hmm.
encouraged him to do what he loved. And he's been killing the stand-up game for 15 years now. But to your point, there's usually something behind the scenes that got them there. But that's that authenticity. That's the stuff you're not going to see on a late night show with Colbert or
Mm-hmm.
Corden, because it's always so, it's like a best hits. It's like the best of that, but people want real. And when they hear those guys talk about that kind of stuff, they go, oh, that's exactly what I'm going through right now. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel quite as bad because that guy's now killing it. Maybe I can get to that point too. I don't know. That's another big reason they really are, or I'm drawn to them, because these guys that like you idolize on stage, then you hear them talk and you're like, they're just like me.
Just a regular dude.
Someone else does that. I thought I was the only one. So I don't know. I think that's a big part of it, but it's just cool, and anybody can do one now. So if you're talented enough and you know, can get people listening through whatever it is that you do, anyone can do it now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
buy a mic, buy a stand, get a computer, and go for it.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. We could talk about a lot of stuff. Let's talk about hunting and fishing a little bit.
That's my world.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were out on Winnebago on Sunday. My brother crushed him on Saturday, and then we went back to the same spot and threw a frog on top of the water, and it was just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, it looked big largemouth, right?
Yeah.
That's what, yeah. I was a bass guy for a long time. The smallie fishery around here is just unbelievable, you know, like
Most people don't. Up here, it's different, but in Appleton, in the downtown area, there are so many big fish, and I can't remember the last time I saw someone bass fishing.
Yeah.
I'm always telling people like downtown, and they laugh at me, and I'm like, go from shore, walk down that walking trail, fish that line, you'll catch 10 fish. And it's just, it's crazy. But up here is a whole nother beast.
yeah.
You know, the Winnebago system has its big fish, but then you come up and fish the bay, and they're like Sturgeon Bay, and it's just unbelievable, dude.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
The smallies that come out of Green Bay are ridiculous, just massive. And of course, we get like the walleye run in the spring and everything that brings all kinds of people. But I was a bass guy for a long, long time. Now do you trout fish at all?
I actually did a lot more when I was like in high school.
Okay.
My mom and dad or my mom's side, a lot of them live over in like the Wild Rose type area.
Yep.
There's Pine River and Crystal River, and we used to hunt a lot in that area. So I would trout fish a lot there, but it's been a few years.
Okay.
Stuck with pretty much bass and muskie for
Okay.
the past 10.
So we flipped kind of. I started off, I bass fished a lot growing up, and now I'm getting into trout fishing. Just it's same concept, like something I'd never done before, and I just want to do it.
Fly fishing at all?
Not yet. That's probably next. I'm just spinners so far.
It's tough around here because usually like we don't have a lot of wide open creeks.
Yeah.
Usually you're in a woods. Yeah. And you want like
Beaten
a 6
brush.
Yeah, a little 6 foot spinning rod is what works.
Yeah.
It's fun. Fly fishing is cool. Bass fishing with a fly rod is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throwing topwater frogs with a heavy fly rod that's another beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're a bow hunter too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been doing that a lot. Probably I kind of flipped. I started out hunting ducks and geese in high school because it was kind of the cool thing to do.
You can hang out with your buddies.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of sitting in the woods alone.
Exactly. So that was probably what had a lot to do with it. You know, we weren't super successful, but like you said, you lay there for a few hours, you know, shoot the crap and just hang out. But then we got into a really good lease over near Stevens Point, a little over 10 years ago now, and take full advantage of that. Nice. The deer population is wild. We have a very vast amount of wildlife. We have a beaver pond. Bobcats, fox, coyotes, wolves, bears. We see it all year round. So we've been very heavy on that. So
that's key to get a good lease if that's the route you go, and it's nice to be able to hold it for a long time, build a good relationship. I've never hunted via a lease, but I have a couple friends that solely do it that way, and that's that's kind of an anomaly sometimes. Leases go and you lose your spot, or
it's hard. Now it's harder than ever. And I give a lot of people that hunt public full time a lot of credit, because once you get a piece of private, it's so hard to go back. But to your point of we're hanging on to this one until they literally kick us off and put a fence up. Yeah. They're like family now. We can stay at that. We can stay at the house whenever we want if we want to stay overnight. We have a fire pit, hot tub. We walk right from the house to any of our stands. We've got it made. So
nice.
We try not to take advantage of that. They become like family to us. We golf with them in the summer and stuff. So it's really cool. And equally as good as the hunting is, it's like I said, it's like an extended family now. And the owner's son is my age. He still lives at home. They can run a construction company together. So I've always got someone to hang out with if my brother doesn't go. So it's a lot of like best of a lot of worlds.
Nice.
And kind of regardless of how successful we are, every year is a good year. As long as everyone's safe and alive, every year is a good year.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So how big of a chunk are you hunting?
120.
Okay, nice.
Yep. We're thinking about making an offer. I should say this. That's all right. He doesn't watch podcasts. We're thinking about making an offer on one of the 40s.
Yeah.
To then just have something between me, my dad, and my brother for, however long then. We've always wanted to own something, and this might be the time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we can do what we want.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So you hunt at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bow hunting, particularly a passion of mine for a long time. Kind of went over to the dark side now for the past 2 years. Two years, I think I've been using a crossbow.
Oh, it's like, what did you switch to? That's all right. Hey, if you're more accurate, what I say is if you're more accurate, you're going to kill more deer.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I know people that hunt with bows that should never touch one again for the rest of their lives.
Oh, goodness, I know.
Their pattern is the size of that door, and I go buy a crossbow.
I know.
Not saying you're a bad shot or anything.
I know.
But if you're more accurate and they feel better and it's more comfortable,
yeah.
Who cares?
What ultimately ended up doing it for me was like I've teetered this line my whole life of being scared of heights but loving bow hunting. So
interesting.
Yeah, I know it's tough. So like you think of what the best stands are to hunt with a compound bow, and oftentimes it's a hang-on, right? Like you're using a hang-on, and like I'm a little squirrely in hang-ons, man, and I could never get in setups where like I was truly comfortable, because it would either be like, man, I wish I was 5 feet higher, or like I wish I was in more cover or something. So ultimately, I can hunt out of stands more effectively with a crossbow that I'm comfortable in, that I can climb and like not crap my pants.
Absolutely. You should never, if that's how you feel going up a stand, you shouldn't be in it.
Yeah. So I do that a lot. And I also like hunting from the ground a lot. So it's weird because it's almost completely the opposite end of the spectrum, but I could see myself one day hunting with a traditional bow from the ground. I think that would be really cool.
Interesting.
I messed up on a big 9 last year on the ground that was within traditional bow range. It was like 10 yards. And like the rush of that is just unbelievable. Man.
That's so close.
Yeah.
Like people that don't get that rush, a big buck at 10 yards is so close. Like, and so many people misjudge that when they are that close. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how many shots get missed, you know, or the accuracy they say like amongst like the 20 to 25 is sometimes better because 10 is so close. Like I know so many guys that have shot under and over deer at that range because I don't practice at 10 very often.
Yeah.
Like I go 20, 30, 40 and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And
there's nothing worse.
No,
you don't sleep for days.
No, it was a wild situation. And in hindsight's always 2020.
100%.
He made one of like those awesome like rut growl grunt things behind me with a doe. And I was like, oh, okay, it's on. And I was on the ground with my back to a tree. And they were there for the longest time. And then I finally like tried to turn and get a good look and the doe bound off. So I was like, all right, blew it, whatever. Like I had never seen the buck at that point. I didn't know it was, I knew it was there because it had made the noise, but I didn't know what it was.
Sure.
So like I saw the doe bound off, she busted me. So I was like, all right, well, that's a bummer. And I sat back down and it was really like, it was one of those like misty, rainy mornings. So it was super quiet in the woods. Couldn't hear anything. Sat back down and I was actually like, I had an earbud in because I had a work meeting that morning. So I was like in the woods.
Thank God, I'm not the only one. Yeah. I felt so guilty about that for so long. Oh, now I don't feel bad.
Guilty. No, I was still engaged. I was in the Teams chat. It's all right.
Perfect.
And I had one earbud in and I was sitting there and then like I caught movement out of the corner of my eye and like I looked to my right and it was like 8 yards away standing there just looking at me. It's like, oh goodness. So
like, how's your meeting going there, pal?
Yeah. Yeah. But circling back to what I was saying, I could see myself doing that, like traditional bow from the ground. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do because like I was just frustrated year after year of like having these setups that like could be better if I wasn't so scared of heights.
Sure.
It's tough, man.
Well, and you're going to make and shooting and again, if you're uncomfortable, hey, there are sometimes I get into, if it's whatever, sometimes I get into some of our hang-ons and I go, I'm not afraid of heights, but the wind's a little heavy today. So, but I can see how having a crossbow in that situation would make you 100 times more comfortable because there's so much less balance you have to worry about, I guess. So,
yeah. And you can hunt way more effectively out of ladders, I think, like ladder stands, way more effectively with a crossbow because that's a lot of like stuff there, you know, like I have I think big bucks know that like that's a ladder stand. Like not all deer might, but
we have been debating that. So our landowner number one, doesn't like going in hang-ons but number two, fell out of a stand, not this past season, but the season before. And, had a wooden ladder, got to the top, broke, and he fell straight onto a rock pile, straight down, completely mangled. We had the helicopter land in our cornfield to take him out, completely mangled his leg, still dealing with it. So we have a lot of ladder stands in addition to our hang-ons because there's just no way he can get, he might not be going into stands at all anymore, but for the past 2 years, he's needed ladders. So, but to your point, we have been debating on whether they know if that's a ladder or not. And we try to now really conceal them to the best of the abilities. But sometimes, man, like a hang-on just doesn't work, but you need a stand in that tree. I've had them walk pretty close. I don't know. Like I said, it's a never-ending debate on whether they look at that and associate it with humans.
Yeah.
I don't. During the rut, probably you're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had them run within feet of it.
Yeah.
But those early season bucks, when they're still smart, I don't know. You have a point on that. And like I said, it's a never-ending debate.
I think it's more something to me. It'll change their pattern 30 yards. As opposed to like, they're not going to stop using the area if they like it. But like, I think like, you know, it'll change their pattern off into the next thick brush.
You're exactly
like
right.
that.
Because now I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about a hunt we had last year where my brother and I were team hunting, and this buck was coming out of our neighbor's land, literally probably about 25 to 30 yards down from the ladder that we there was no other tree. This was the only place, but it had to be a ladder stand. And he was coming out pretty consistently 25, 30 yards down and just far enough out down the tree line where there was no shot. So you're on to something.
Dude, it's wild.
There.
They know the land that I hunt, I own with my dad too. And it never fails. By the time like the second week of gun season comes around, like everything by my stand that I hunt is dead. Like I've hunted hard for like 3 weeks now, and everything's dead. But then the second week, I do the same thing every year. I walk 60 yards further into the woods, and I know exactly where they're going to be. In the last 2 years, I've seen good ones doing that. Like the bucks I was chasing, like everybody thinks they move 340s over. They move like, you know, as far as you can throw a football.
Yeah,
over, but
they just move into thicker stuff.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. By us, it's literally, it is hot from all the way up to the day before gun hunting. It's hot. Yeah. I'm not kidding you. The morning of gun hunting, we see nothing.
Yeah.
They know.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
When there's 800,000 more people in the woods than there was the day before, they know. But that's a really good point of people think they move far. They just don't move. Or they move into the closest thick area where they know, hey, I haven't seen anyone here all year. Yeah. I'm parking my butt right here, and you're going to have to walk on top of me to get me to move me. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because I have heard a lot of guys say what you just said. He's probably a mile away. No, he's not.
Everybody, yeah.
He's probably right there.
Yeah, seriously. Might as well not hunt here anymore.
That's funny.
So has your, like obviously it has, but how much so have your content path and your outdoors path collided? How do those two come together?
Oh, it's all in one now. My brother's a big bass fisherman and has a few sponsors now, and has gained a good following on Instagram. So I create a lot of stuff for him, a lot of little clips and reels and stuff like that. And then through that, we have lure companies that say, hey, could you make X amount of videos or photos or whatever the case may be? And then they send us stuff. We haven't gotten legitimately paid yet in that realm, but it's pretty cool when you send someone a little video and then they send you a box of every lure that they make and they say, here, have fun, enjoy. So that's probably where a majority of it has crossed over. And then just like my personal stuff, like I film every hunt now, whether I have my full setup or just a GoPro. It's a rule if I'm fishing or hunting, I have something running, because when you don't, that's when everything happens. The only big buck that I had within range this past year was the one day I did not have my setup, and I said, never, never again. So I've incorporated it just to try and capture a lot of what I do in my free time, because I got to a point where I was like you can benefit from this. It may seem like nothing, but people, like we were talking about before, people want to relate. And there's a lot of people that do that same stuff. And when they see someone else doing it, there's just more of a connection. Yeah. So I've really kind of, worked it into almost my daily life.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. Gives me a reason to go out and go fishing or hunting, because I go, you can't make a video if you don't go do it. So kind of take that mindset. It's almost like motivating to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it exciting.
It does.
Yeah.
And you think about how many experiences you've had where if you just would have had even a GoPro on your shoulder, like the cool things you would have caught. We were filming on Sunday, and, you watch YouTube videos where people have interactions fishing with like people on shore and stuff. All of a sudden, golf balls started landing, within feet of our boat, hitting the water. Well, the landowner behind the trees didn't know someone was fishing, and him and his grandsons were hitting balls. But we got all on camera, all of these golf balls coming out of the woods and hitting the water, and it made for a really funny clip. And it's like we would have never had any of that if you didn't. When we get in the boat, I make my brother. I go, before you even turn that key, put your GoPro on, because he's horrible about not doing it if I'm not there. So kind of take the Gary V approach of just document.
Yeah.
Document what you do, because eventually you're going to find things that people are going to want to consume, I guess.
Yeah. That's fascinating, man. I'm just delving into that territory. I like, oftentimes, like, I look to the outdoors as somewhat of an escape, right? Like, so I never crossed those two lines. It was like, okay, when I'm going out there, I do it for this reason. It was really like a selfish reason, you know, like that's why I was going out there for me. And, I want to start looking at it the other way, because there is like so many things that you wish you could share. Like, even if it's just the beauty of the outdoors, man. Like,
yeah. I think it's all about, you know, the priority. I know some guys that when they go in the woods, there is no phone. Well, maybe in the backpack, but like that is their escape, and that's what makes them happy. That's awesome. You shouldn't be doing what I'm talking about if you're not going to enjoy it.
Right.
Again, with my mind that never stops moving, if it's a slow night in the stand, like I want to, you know, I'm futzing with cameras and looking for a better GoPro angle. So like, it makes me happy because it keeps me doing something, I guess. And like I said, you never know what's going to happen.
Especially when you're on like November 10th and it's like the 8th day full sit in a row, and it's like, this is getting old.
Yeah, exactly. You know, or the complete opposite, where I always take off 5 to 6 days. Used to do it like November, like Halloween through the 4th. I've found that doing like the 5th through the 10th is
so much better.
Better.
I know.
But I had good experiences early on at this land, like Halloween or 30th or so. I shot a buck on the 30th one year. Then I shot my next one on the 2nd, and I'm like, that's what I'm doing every time. Then I had a year or two where like nothing was going on. Little bucks were chasing, but I'm like, the big boys aren't moving yet. So now it's like 5th through the 10th. But sometimes it's the opposite, where the first morning you get out and you got a long week planned. It's like 7 o'clock, bam, it's going to happen now. So just being ready for all that. And I'm learning. I mean, I've been busted. Don't get me wrong. To self-film with a camera and a couple of GoPros, it's a learning process. You don't just film the first buck you see and shoot it type thing. Yeah.
I was going to ask that. Well, how that changes your hunting experience trying to self-film, because it's got to be tough.
Your shooting's got to be, you got to be, I shoot all summer long, so that my shooting is just, it's not something I even have to worry about in the stand, because I'm worrying about 5 other things. I'm worrying about, okay, you got to get the camera on them, and then you got about 5 seconds to pull back. I still have yet to put the whole thing together. My roommate from college had a TV show once he got out. They're still going strong on YouTube. Now he's gone his own way, but he's a full-time outdoor videographer. He's what kind of got me into filming in the stand and stuff. But, talking to him, he's like, your shooting's got to be like almost like you don't even think about your shot. You just got to know exactly where it's going to be, because you're worrying about everything else. It's crazy, man. Like, even just trying to film with a phone the first time, even without a camera, like going back and forth, and then all of a sudden the deer's 10 yards further than you thought he was going to be because you were looking at the screen, and it's a lot, but it's fun. It's a challenge, and I'm still working on getting that first one self-filmed on camera, but I'm feeling optimistic for this year.
So you've been busted trying to video a shot. Is that what you're saying?
I've been busted on one real good one. The other ones wouldn't have been a wall hanger, but to get it on camera would have been incredible.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, man, like it's crazy. And then, glares off cameras, got to think about. I know one time saw the glare off my lens, and it was just the sun was hitting it the right way. So I don't know. It's a whole different beast, but it's fun. Yeah. If you're a tech guy like we are, and you like, playing with cameras and stuff like that, it's just fun. It gives you something to do while you're up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Birds, flying to the tree, and you filming squirrels to get B-roll and stuff. Keeps me busy. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. It's it's something that doesn't need to be more challenging, but
it's a really good point. Yeah. It's like you work all like year round food plots and doing this and that. And then you go, you busted it because of that reason. My dad doesn't quite understand that. He thinks he loves the filming aspect of it.
Yeah.
But then on the side of like, is it worth like not shooting the deer? But you talk to these guys that have these shows, if they can't get the shot, they don't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like I've watched a lot of B-roll that hasn't been posted from my buddy's show where they let a 150-inch buck walk because they could not get it on camera. Yeah. But they know that if they go there tomorrow, he'll be right back.
Yeah.
Because they managed the land so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a beast. I always encourage people, like, if you have any interest in like documenting your hunts, like just do it. Buy a GoPro, buy the shoulder strap, just hit record and go about your experience.
Yep.
And I have some buddies now that do it and they just piece it together real basic back at home and they just enjoy doing it. Yep. I don't know. Like you said though, why make it unbelievably more challenging than it already
it's such a hard thing already, such a hard time consuming thing. I think that's what makes it great too, right? But
the reward.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
Yeah.
Because it's not the kill. It's all that work that you put in. And I respect those animals so much. People think, well, they're dumb. They run out in front of traffic all the time. And, people hit them with their cars. That may be true, but a big buck is a smart animal. And to watch them interact as they do in terms of like, I mean, I've watched, my dad and I saw this when I was young. Big one coming in, got a whiff, backtracked in each step for 20 yards and turned around and walked the other way. It was such a cool thing to see. So you gotta respect the game. You gotta respect everything that they are. But then when it does all come together, there's just that, it's the best feeling in the world, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, I can't count how many times that scenario is ridiculous. How they'll get to something even if they don't wind you in the stand, if they smell like where something walked or something, and then they turn around and go where they came from. Like,
yep, because they
where
know
are you going, dude.
See, and they know, they know that where they came because they're calculated.
Oh yeah,
they know what they're doing, but that's how you get one. You pattern them and manage your land well. But they know where safety is. They know that tree has something coming off of it that doesn't quite look like all the rest of the trees. I'm going 30 yards that way, to your point from before. Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's just the outdoors is just, it's something special, to say the least. It has so much to offer. Regardless of what you do, hunt, fish, hike, bird watch, I don't care. Yep. I think more people should be outside a lot more often than they probably are.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
outside the walls, man.
Got to get outside. The past few years, I think, have kept a lot of people getting used to doing things inside, which it is what it is. But go out and get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Like get some sun. Like your body will appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick mid-show shout out to our sponsors at Riverside Pizzeria. If you see this, comment. Maybe I'll send you a hat.
Tell me a little bit about like the tech world. Like, what do you all do with the students? Are you teaching at all? Mm-hmm. What classes do you teach? Do you have a core, or do you move around a little bit?
Yeah, we have core classes. Yeah, so I teach a lot of social media marketing, a lot of consumer behavior, which is super fun. That's really interesting to me, like the psychology behind marketing.
That's all really marketing fun. Is. Yeah. If you can master the psychology, everything else will come along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the consumer decision-making process is fascinating, and it's awesome to see students like that class, the light bulb comes on more than so many other classes of where they because it's so easy to relate to your everyday life. Like you think about something you bought, and then almost always that's not the first time you saw that. And then when you reflect on that journey of what led you to want that item, that's where a lot of light bulbs come on, where it's like, okay, I understand what marketing is now. Whereas if you think about marketing principles, which I teach a lot too, it's like the foundation, of course there's a price, and of course there's a place where it's at, and of course it's promoted, but consumer behavior really brings that to light. So those two, and then integrated marketing communications, which is pretty much like promotions.
Nice.
Teach a lot of that. Yeah.
Which one do you, so the consumer behavior you find that they adapt the best to? Only because I've talked to other instructors that some classes don't hit students coming into the marketing world as hard as others do. So, but you said consumer behavior is where you see a lot of like, oh, okay, I kind of get it now type moments.
A lot of light bulbs in that class. Yeah.
Okay.
IMC is cool because that's like a lot of people pick marketing because of that. Like, you know, like we know commercials and we know like that. So people think like, okay, that's what I want to do. That's marketing. And that's why they get drawn in.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination of those two is really good. But yeah, consumer behavior, hands down, it brings about the most understanding of marketing.
Okay. When they come into is your social media class like an intro or is it?
It's like middle.
Okay. When they come in, what do they want to do? When they come into that class, what are they looking to get out of it? I'm just curious. I had a conversation with someone recently, about like a social media class, and none of the students really knew what exactly they wanted to do coming in. They just heard social media and went, that sounds fun. So what do yours come in thinking, and how do they leave that class?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. A really diverse blend of things. They come in with expectations. Like a lot of them think it's going to be like fun. Well, it is fun, right? But a lot of them think it's going to be like easy.
Yep.
And it's the opposite of that. Like it takes a ton of work, and the project reflects that. It's actually like a pretty big project.
Good.
So I think a lot of them come in looking at it from more the influencer angle than they do like the business angle of how we see like organizations and corporations use social media. Sure. Which is just as relevant, right? Like we talk about both because like influencer marketing has never been bigger.
No, and it's only going to get bigger.
Yep, and it's going to keep growing because it works, man, especially when it's authentic. So we talk about towing the line between those two things and how do they have a relationship together a lot. And then we talk about several different platforms, but through the lens of always the same, using as a marketer and not everyday like person type thing. Yep. And how that shifts what you look at a little bit. Super fun class to teach. Super really engaging. Everybody, it's fun because I get to learn all the time too, because like different demographics of classes use different platforms than I do on a day-to-day basis, and they use them differently. So differently. Yeah. The younger ones. Yeah. I try not to eavesdrop, but like when I like whether it's my cousin or like just younger people I'm with, they use those apps completely 180 from somebody 20 years older than them in the messaging, in the engagement. So I can only imagine that you have some like oh wow moments yourself in there. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And it's great. It helps me stay up to date because I used to like when I owned an agency doing social media marketing, and I was doing it every day. So it's like I had to stay up on the latest trend because I was doing it for clients. And now it's like not actively doing it every day. Things can pass you by so quickly. So part of the reason I started the podcast was so I would stay ingrained in all of those things, because we're on pretty much every different social platform that I use at a different level, right? So like some I post once in a while, some I really like take some initiative about. But yeah, in that realm, like I learned so much from them and how they use it. Like just look at the difference between like Facebook and Instagram on how someone will follow a page. Like people on Instagram are stingy with follows. It's crazy. Yeah. I was someone on some marketing podcast was just talking about this, how it's so hard to get followers unless they're 100% committed or they know you. Yep. It takes a lot. Yep. It's crazy. And on Facebook, people are a little more loose with it. Like this person invited you to like this page, like it because I know them and I want to support them. Yeah. That's so funny that you say that. Yeah. Interesting. And that's all from that's from a user perspective, and I don't know if it's demographic or it's hard to say it's platform because the your homepage or your feed is very similar. Right.
So someone told me it all has to do with, this is what they said, with the younger generation, followers versus who you follow. And they never want to follow more people than that follow them because it gives off some desperation vibe. That's what someone told me. Take it for what it's worth. But it's all about like some type of balance. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what someone in their low 20s told me. But again, they're just, it's amazing. It'll be interesting to see how like the kids that are in middle school and early high school right now, when they get into their 20s, because they've seen everything. Like, how old are you?
I'll be 37 next month.
So you remember what it was like not having any of this. Well, now these generations, they've grown up with it. So it's just interesting to see someone that has known what Facebook is since they were 5 versus I was in 9th grade when people outside that edu.edu were able to get it.
Yep.
And my buddy's older brother got it. There was 10 of us hunched around a computer looking at like, what is this?
Yeah.
So it's so funny to think about. There are people out there that like knew what that was as a toddler.
Yeah.
And with how big it's gotten, it's just crazy. You could talk all day about that and how people use it and for good and bad, but it's like I said, it's a fun world to live in because it keeps us on our toes, it keeps us on our feet, and for what we do, we kind of have to know what's going on to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So
have you used Threads much yet?
No, and I've been holding out because I'm the type that I don't own a pair of Hey Dudes because I don't like blending in.
Making sure
so
I hate Hey Dudes.
So I looked around because I said it recently and I looked around and there were like 5 guys and I was like, oh man, I sounded like such an ass. But I hold out on some things because I'm like not joining that yet.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm like, I got to join.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I hold out to begin with, but I think it's just like one more thing I don't want to have to worry about.
Yeah.
I already have 9 social media platforms on my phone that I have to check. Do I really want a 10th thing?
Yeah.
I think that probably has something to do with it. However, I see more and more action going on with it. So I'm like, gonna have to jump on that train at some point.
Yeah, the algorithm has been pretty favorable. It's a pretty easy one to game so far, and I think it's because there aren't a ton of users yet.
Smart.
I got a tip from actually a previous guest. She was just like, just ask questions. Ask questions on Threads.
Really?
And I started doing it, and it's like comparable to other social media platforms. It's easy right now.
Okay.
I doubt it'll stay like that forever, but
the early adapters, man.
Yeah,
like
it's one of those things that you can
in.
take advantage of. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for the space, it makes a ton of sense. So I'm going to start putting even more energy into it because I think it blends with the podcast space really well.
Absolutely.
I was never a huge like Twitter user or X. I once it turned to X, I don't know that I've posted since. I might have, but
it's a weird one.
Yeah, I was never a huge user of the platform. Like, my main go-to there would be like to use the search feature as like a news go-to, like in the moment news. It was great for that.
Yep, because people are, within seconds of something happening, people. That's funny. That is the only reason I would ever use it. Like
same.
Like if Rodgers was leaving the Packers, I was on Twitter because I knew somebody was gonna have and then that morning before he went on. Pat McAfee made that announcement. Somebody said, be prepared to hear so-and-so because he's my boy.
Yeah.
Still. Yeah. I got a Jets jersey.
Ditto. Well, I don't have a Jets jersey.
Me and my buddy were like, we're staying committed. He wore it to the home opener here last year. I did not. But we stayed committed and we're like, because we like him. We like the guy.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think, he's my all-time favorite sports person.
Dude, we can swim upstream together because I am in the same boat.
That's awesome.
I'm in the same boat. And what boggles my mind is even if somebody is in the other camp with everybody else about being a Rodgers hater right now, what really grinds my gears is that people just automatically dismiss everything he did.
Yep.
Green Bay exists because of the Packers. There's no two ways about it. Like, don't get me wrong. I love it here. Green Bay's an unbelievable place. We're on the map because of the Packers. And he spent, 13 years? However many years he was here.
Yeah.
He devoted of his life to boosting the organization that boosts our community. Really successfully, by the way. Like, some people, there's a really solid argument, at least eye test wise, that you can say he's the best of all time, and he's certainly one of the best of all time.
There's no doubt about that.
How can it's like just being a bitter ex and saying, "Oh, they're gonna leave. I hate everything about you."
Yep.
You don't though. I don't know. That bothers me. It bothers me. And
we could sit here all day and talk about this topic because I have been fighting this war for I don't know since before he even left. When people had an issue with his attitude, I'm like, his attitude? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, oh, you're over at his house every day knowing what's going on in his life. Yeah. Feed me more. Yeah. Like, believe me, I've been battling this, and I it's so refreshing to know that there's someone,
at least one other person, because it seems like we are really in the minority.
We really are. You are. So okay, so all three of us in this room. Thank you. Yeah, man. I don't know. But back to a lot of the point of this conversation, he's authentic.
Yeah.
He says things that fall outside the lines. I don't care what side that really is. You believe what you believe because of everything that's happened to you in your life. And then you take all of the experiences and knowledge and you make a decision on something. I can't do the scripted dudes. Tom Brady's a great quarterback. Arguably, you could make a case for the GOAT. But he follows the path. He never really spoke out of turn in public. Sure, he had a lot to say in the front office when he was playing with the Patriots. I think they gave him a lot to say, but that's something that I think that happened to Aaron. I'll stay on this for another minute because I could go all day. I don't think they treated him the same here in Green Bay as they did Tom Brady. I think in New England, I think Tom was allowed to have his input on decisions. Hey, Tom, we're thinking about doing this. You're our star quarterback. We'd like to hear what you have to say on it. Just making that initiative, I think, would have changed some things here in Green Bay. I think the front office just said, we're doing this. A player's a player. They have nothing to say about it. I always equate it to if you were running a business, if you were in charge of a franchise business and the owner that's never really on scene came and started firing your employees without telling you, would you just be like, oh, okay, sounds good? Or would you be like, why are you getting rid of him? He's done a lot of good for us. I think some of that went on. And then I think it kind of turmoiled from there. But he's not the first one that they've done that to. I love this organization. I married into a season ticket holding family. We are never getting rid of them. I don't care what happens. I go to almost every home game. I love the Packers. They're in my blood. But with that comes a lot of opinions and feelings. Yeah. And they're certainly not perfect. And no one is, but yeah, Aaron Rodgers for life. Sorry, just had to say that, man. He's my boy.
I agree with that sentiment, man. I'm quite sure it did happen, and it's outside of the norm. Like any franchise quarterback, they're consulting. Like in any sport, you don't think the Bucks are going to Giannis and saying, "Hey, who you think could coach us?"
100%.
Who would you want to coach you?
Yes, that's my point. Like it happens everywhere else, but. Again, there are some organizations that kind of stick to their guns, and they've done it to other players. So I wasn't as mad as I was about the whole situation. I understood it and said it's not the first time. And at the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah. The people that think that the NFL is the same, the game is the same as the YMCA kids playing on Saturday morning. No. This is a business first. Yeah. And that's the way everything's thought about nowadays. And you have to accept that. Yeah. If you think it's just an all honest, fair game and these guys just really love to play, they do, but there's a lot more to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They love being rich too, and so do all the front office people.
Well, yeah, and if the league is generating the amount of money it is, they should get paid.
Absolutely. That's another asinine argument that happens all the time. These professional athletes make too much money. Well, okay, business 101. They make that much money because they make that much money for other people.
And the dedication that the guys that are making that money, do you think they just play for an hour or two a day and just spend their money? In the off season, they do what they want. But in season,
they're still working out.
These guys
all
are
the time.
working all day long, whether it's their diet, it's practice, it's game day, whatever the case may be. Most people have no idea what that kind of dedication takes because they just don't know. It's ignorance.
It's not in most people. Yeah.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
It's so far away from people's reality of like.
It's not a 9 to 5.
Right. And then spending the rest of the outside time, like sitting on the couch or doing something you enjoy. Like
that doesn't exist with those guys. And they're free when they're in the off season, that they do their thing. Some of them still continue to train in the off season because they're fighting for a spot the next season. So I don't know, when people talk like that about I don't know, drives me nuts.
It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But we live in a knee-jerk society that like it's easy
100%.
to say things that just like go out into the air.
Yeah, let's not learn about the situation and then make a decision on how we feel about it.
Yeah.
All my friends are saying something, I'm going to say that
I'm going to say that too, yeah. It makes a lot of sense. They're rich and I'm not. It's like a South Park episode. They're taking our jabs.
Taking our jobs. Oh, but that's funny.
And I mean, just the level of, a prime example is Aaron. He's talked openly about wanting to be a father. And like, I firmly believe that his career and dedication to that is something in the way of that. Like
100%, absolutely.
Like these people are sacrificing their lives. And that's kind of my point that I'm trying to make. Like, yeah, sure. He was here. He made a ton of money. He got rich and did awesome. But like, think about what he gave up to do that. And that was really for Green Bay
and
for
what
13
he gave
years.
us as fans.
Yeah.
The amount of memories I have with that guy on the field going, how in the world did he do what he just did? I was at that Bears comeback when he got hurt and then came back out.
Oh, yeah, so sick.
That was unbelievable. Now, that was a team effort, but between that and then all of the plays where you just go...
Was that that you're talking about the one with the long Cobb touchdown at the end?
To win it.
So sick, dude.
I have never heard Lambeau feel... I swear to God, the stadium shook.
Yeah.
When he caught that ball and everyone in the stadium realized there was no one in front of him, I swear you could feel the place rumbling. It's just like, what do you like? Come on, man. Like those are priceless memories that like you're going to tell your kids about in 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And without that dude, it wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So with all the negativity, I don't know. I just look back and it was 13 years of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of heartbreak, but that's because we care.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I love the new era, though. I tell you, I love this new team.
Boy, on the flip side, it seems like everybody pitted the two against each other.
Which they're going to do.
The front office and Aaron Rodgers, everyone's going to do that.
Yes.
I give props to really both sides. Like, we had an awesome time with Aaron. We can give that. I didn't think how everything shook out was going to go as positively as it did. They obviously did. That's why they did it. Props to them, like that takes some gusto to make those decisions too.
Absolutely.
Whether it's how I would have done it or not, one thing, but
Grudy has a pair on him, like, and I give that guy a lot of credit. I was like a lot of people, when people start making changes, especially people in Wisconsin, we don't like change with a lot of things, but when you can recognize the result of the choice that he made as a GM, you start to go, okay, this guy might know what he's doing. And after this last season, I'm like, I'm in, I'm bought in. Yeah. This new system where we take young players that we recognize are good, that don't require $50 million over the course of a few years, build them up, and then we'll see what they do with them once we make them look really good. But like, how do you to recognize Jordan Love's talent? And when they drafted him, whether this past year was a fluke or not, I really don't think it was. I think he's going to continue to get better. But to see that, like, who can make that call? Who could go to Utah State and go, that guy could start for the Packers and lead them to beating arguably the best team in the league in the first round of the playoffs and almost make it to the NFC? Like, who would have called that? Mm-hmm. So for them to see that, their scouts, top of the front office, you have to respect that.
Yeah.
Like us as fans, we have to go, those guys do that all day, every single day. And to be able to make that choice, because a lot of guys pick the wrong guys, man.
Oh, yeah.
Look how many, the busts in recent years is is just crazy. But that three times in a row, we've picked guys that were at smaller schools but had good numbers, and 2 of them are in the Hall of Fame, and who knows what the next one's gonna do. So,
dude, you want to know what's wild about that is Dan and I have a buddy who called the Jordan Love pick before it happened. And it's ridiculous.
Can you validate that? Really?
He did.
How, like during the draft or like before the draft?
Before the weeks before the draft. He said
insane.
The Packers were going to take Jordan Love. And it's funny because like you have to know the guy to understand, but it was ridiculous. And
is he deep in?
He's a huge draft guy. He loves college football.
So he knows the talent and all that kind of stuff.
He puts together his draft board and all of that stuff, but
those
still,
guys are on another level. But still.
Yeah, and it's just hilarious that he's never going to let anyone live it down.
You know what? As you shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't. He earned it.
Especially if this kid goes on a run. I mean, that's like living, like that's like a purpose in life. Hey, I called that.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could get famous around Green Bay doing that.
You could. I know it is ridiculous. And man, I spent like the years that Jordan Love was on the bench being like a Jordan Love detractor, specifically to him, just because I like wanted him to feel wrong.
He knew.
And
that's insane.
It's unbelievable, but funny. But I completely agree. Like who saw it coming and how it all shook out. Like they definitely like
scouts, man.
Yeah, it's funny because we had Andy, aka Byron Sweeney from, I'm sure you know Shad Rap, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we had him on the show, and he went to college with Gutenkoost. And
where did they go?
Lacrosse.
Really? I didn't know he went to lacrosse.
I didn't know it before Andy told me either. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he kind of sung his praises, saying like, you know, like these people work really, really hard, and like they take it serious and all of that stuff too. And it's just more of that knee-jerk stuff. Like it's an easy scapegoat when everybody had the pitchforks out for Gutenkoost, you know, like, oh, we're gonna.
But those are the guys though that like to sometimes improve something, you gotta tick a few people off in the short term.
Yeah.
But then the smart ones start to see the progress, which at this point, I mean, as a fan, how can you not be at least a little bought in to what they're doing?
Oh man,
here.
The story's magical.
Yeah, it's magical. And just how many, like, we don't have 2 or 3 stars on this team that we know are going to make plays. There were dudes you've never even heard of catching touchdowns over starting Dallas quarterbacks where you're like, that guy has 2 touchdowns. This is like his 9th game ever.
Yeah.
So to just be able to see all of that and put it all together, I'm pumped for this year. Yeah. I think it's going to be fun. I think they're going to, I think they'll break our hearts a little bit like they always do, but I think we're going to get to the end of another season, and as fans, we're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah. There was an ESPN Plus article this morning about like the headline was something about the Packers being Super Bowl contenders, and I didn't even read it because it's like too early to get excited.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It'll ruin you. They just had the odds up I was at the gym. They had the odds up on the TV of like, I think we might have been top 10. I think we might have been top 10 for the odds. And I just looked away from the TV and I'm like, nope, I just game by game.
Yeah.
Game by game and healthy. A lot can change between now and the first game of the year that can affect the entire season. So just be patient.
Yeah.
Let them do their thing. I do want to go to some more of like the public practices and stuff because it's been years and years since I've done that, and I am gonna do that this year. Yeah,
I haven't done that since we moved back here, and
you kind of forget about it because it's crazy. It's right here.
Yeah.
So I've made a point that that's happening just because I love this team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to get the producer Dan to go live during the draft next year, and he shut that down. He said, "I will be at the draft.
I will be there as well, my man." Yep. The minute they announced it, I said, "I don't care what we have to do. We're going."
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. It was a great conversation, man. I appreciate you coming in, chatting a little bit.
This was fun.